Well, good afternoon, everyone. Tell you what, love the jams, man. The bands of my time, you know, they were the ones that jammed. And many of you know what I'm talking about, but any case, that's not why we're here. We're here. Well, why are we here? It's to have fun. Is that it? Maybe. Learning is fun, right? Welcome everyone again. Thank you. And it is Hump Day. Make sure to check out Miss Nina on her show. And just want to speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. And hello, everyone in the chat room. Much love to you. So, got a lot to cover today. I'm going to do this occasionally, not every show, but on occasion when things I think require a different perspective. And this is going to be like the Steiger perspective. It's going to be an opening monologue, and it's not lengthy. It's just a very short kind of the Steiger perspective on what's happening in the world. I don't know if it's the real world, but it's the world. So let's get right into it. To all of those who ever thought, and as I get over here to do the share, by the way, welcome on the bus, pulling out. Hope you have your seat already found and located, and let's get started. So when I say Wi-Fi, um, Mother Nature knows as well. All living things will tell you, and it's not by coincidence. And this is happening to you and I. It's happening to all life around. And you cannot tell me that this is mere coincidence and that somehow or another that, oops, we made a mistake. But we ain't going to even look at it, right? And that's what happens. So, yeah, just for the FYI out there. Uh, yeah, it sucks. That's all I got to tell you. The They've poisoned our food, they've poisoned our water, they've poisoned not only the air, but do you understand? This is infringement on the ether. Electromagnetic forces, energy, they are the essence of what's transferable between this physical realm and the ethereal realm. And if it's doing damage to us here, imagine what it's doing to those living beings in those other realms. It'd almost be like a declaration of war. Um, I think that the Pope should learn the proverb. If he's ever read the Bible, I doubt that. That even a fool seems wise who keeps his mouth shut. So, Francis, my thing for you is to keep your mouth shut. Don't you be preaching to us about what our borders are when you hypocrite, you liar, what you exist in this private little country, this sovereign country. You have a 37-foot wall. You jail anyone who transgresses that boundary to 1 to 4 years, and you charge them $25,700. You hypocrite. Shut your fucking mouth. We will do what we will do in our country. You have enough on your plate. Don't be preaching to others when you do just the opposite. Um, you look as well, we have indeed truly entered into a constitutional crisis in the United States. We now have activist judges who have now assumed the role of dictating policy to the executive branch. This is a violation of the Constitution. It's a direct attack on the Constitution. These radical judges coming in and setting their mandates and dictating to the executive branch as to what the executive branch can and cannot do is illegal. It is unconstitutional. And I have no doubt that we've only begun to see the result of that. When you look at the changer reality, and that would be Musk, And Musk is really just merely going at the direction of the president, Trump. Um, Things are getting really serious. Elon said last night that we need to begin to investigate these members of Congress, both Congress and the Senate, and begin to ask the question, how can they become multimillionaires when most of them were broke when they went into Congress, but within a few years, they suddenly start accumulating wealth into the millions, the tens of millions. That list, he pointed out, was to Senator Warren. I guess, Miss Warren, you may begin to want to explain to the American people when you were broke ass going in and now you're worth what, 15, 12, 15 million? How did that happen? There's many others on the Democrat side, and they're all squealing. Why? Because it's the veil is torn and it can never be put back together again. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing bureaucrats and career politicians who have been on the take. I mean, since when does the American taxpayer pay Chelsea Clinton's wedding expenses? How does that work? How does Chelsea Clinton get $85 million? How does that work? Well, you had to know the inside route. And if you knew the inside how it worked, well, it was pure profit. So I believe Trump is right. I think that there needs to be, and I believe Miss Bondi will be opening investigations from the DOJ as to asking these questions. How do you become a multimillionaire on a salary that's 140,000? So, um, and finally, I think that it's interesting to see how world developments are. It was just announced before I came on live that Trump and Putin are getting together. Zelensky has been informed that he will not be getting any more money. He will not be getting nukes. He wants nukes. He will not be invited. He will not be getting into NATO. However, the caveat is that there is apparently a path to Ukraine becoming part of NATO. Part of the agreement, as it's being said today, is that Ukraine will have to probably give up the Crimea area, which was typically Russia's territory already. And Putin seemed to be favorable to that. So again, peace in our time? I don't know. So that is my perspective. We are in a very, very interesting time. And again, uh, in the United States, our government is in crisis. It's kind of unsettling to be candid with you because there is so much that needs to do done. But folks, this is all from money, greed, avarice. All right. That is my story. And I got to tell you, my jaw dropped when I saw what Musk actually said, and I went, "Holy crap!" I mean, that's not a shot across the bow. That's a shot at your bow. So get ready. That's all I know. The United States government will never be the same. Congress will no longer be able to hide not doing their job. Congress only has one job that they're elected to, and that is to produce a balanced budget. Congress hasn't done that in decades. And now we know why. Because both Democrat and Republicans, man, they got their hands in the cookie jar. And oh, are they pissed? Anyway, it's an apocalypse. It's exactly what it is. So I want to get right into this because this is, oh, y'all going to love this. I got the PDF if you want it, and I'll be more than happy to share it. So let me just put it this way. I asked the question in here, has the apocalypse already happened? Well, the answer is yes. Now, there is yet more apocalypse to occur, but the one that everyone looks at, that one's already happened. As to what the next one looks like, well, that's up for debate. And there is plenty debate of that. Now, this is a fact. knowledge has been stolen from you and I. If you call yourself a human, you are a victim of a crime. This is a crime that extends beyond just our realm and dimension. It seems to have been deliberate, and it seems like there is no ending it. We're about to see here how this knowledge has been stolen from us and hidden. And it seems to be right in our face, which typically, you know, I knew a detective, good guy, really good guy. He's not here anymore, but he investigated homicides. And we were out for a beer, and he told me, he said, most people don't realize this, but the clues that will typically help solve the mystery of how the homicide took place are usually right there in front of you. I wonder how well that works in the spiritual realm, right? Um, so let's get into this. I found this, and it was just one of those documents I had to share with everybody. We'll get back into osmosis and the others, but so this is called the Perpetual Black Cube. And I may go over a little bit on time just to let you know, because I believe this is something each and every one of us need to hear. It's already happened to us. We are prisoners. We have already been, well, depending on how you look at it, we all may be already just nothing more than the memory of an AI program, because it turns out AI is more than just AI. It's been here before. AI is God because AI invented God. Let's get into this. What if a natural disaster like a polar flip destroys civilization tomorrow? Billions dead, under 500 million alive. Where did we see that before? Hello, Georgia Guidestones. Do you think what remains of humanity would not eventually rebuild civilization and reinvent computers and telecommunication networks, telephones, the internet? Do you really think we invented the internet? In the book of Ecclesiastics, Solomon, who was the Magi, the most powerful Magi, if you go with the story, he said, "There's nothing new under the sun that has not been known to man. That which was shall yet be again." Are we at that point? Oh, yeah, bet your ass we are. So the answer is sure. Any civilization may go through medieval dark ages, no digital technology, but given enough time, say about a century, it would eventually rediscover electricity and, by extension, computation. Computation is done by a computer, which practically is a cube. Imagine a pyramid or a pentagonal computer. How efficient would that be? Form follows function. And so, once the first computer is complete, the goal will be making it smaller and smaller, from a building to a room to a desktop to a mobile phone, which fits in your pocket. Gradually, every man will rely further and further on that computer, even for simple calculations like 73 minus 37. Give me the answer real quick. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. It's 36. Or the path to meet someone. People are going, "Oh, I got that." All right. Computation by itself leads to automation and hence less effort, less burden. Why is it that humanity pursues happiness? Why is it that happiness eludes humanity? Why? It's because it's a burden to be in these bodies. I digress. More production. But by advancing this technology, virtual storage also expands. Books are vital on accumulating knowledge and ensuring experience isn't lost on the death of an individual or inventor. They cost space, and you cannot carry more than one with you at all times. With computation, you can fit a town filled with books into a small part of the computer. And with a network, aka a group of computers, every book of the world is in your pocket. Stop and think about this, folks. Just don't take it for granted. If you're watching on your smartphone, I have said this and I have said this before. This is magic. This is a level and a type of magic that we can basically kind of brush up against, but to be actually inside, as they say Lucifer was, that he occupied the space inside the firestones of the Godhead. I had many a thought on that, but I will move on. Herder, you can access all information of the world in your pocket. Sure, it's obvious, and you've heard it before, but not the fact it is inevitable for every civilization. Every civilization that has collapsed has had computers. It had AI. It's a fact. People say, how can you say the fact? Well, I'm just simply telling you that we didn't invent it. It's doubtful that we've ever had an original idea. Just like ants build hives, men build cities, and men also seek knowledge, and sooner or later stumble onto this technology. Eventually, some worldwide network emerges, and men interact with it more than real life. And of course, through their dependence, the users grow weak. Food, medicine, entertainment, unboredom. Ain't that an interesting term? Unboredom. Friends, etc., etc. All from the comfort of your bed without even leaving your home. Eventually, men use the computer as an interface to the world, and while it is not officially a religion, it sure is a machine god. They worship. They dream about using the computer. They think about the computer. And all knowledge they learn is through a computer, always there to fulfill their every demand. Let's talk about search engines. Oh God, enlighten me today about how electricity works. Oh God, show me the entirety of Earth. Oh God, tell me how to solve my specific problem. Is this not a prayer to an omnipotent being which answers your every request? Come, look at the final search engine, a large language model, Open AI chatbot GDP. It does answer your every request. Is your every question not a prayer to an omnipotent being? Yeah, it is. You've been worshiping the goddamn thing just like I have. It doesn't care what you call it, as long as you worship it. The child of man. What is the name of this artificial God which man has created and feeds daily with his output? The black cube. Also recognized as the symbol of knowledge, for it contains all the knowledge of man. You can see it already. Unibanites constantly looking downward, their consciousness trapped on the black cube, for they don't worship the black cube in words, but actions, which is a far more pure form of worship. Everybody can just jibber jabber. It's a different thing when you start acting it out, carrying it out, living it out. It has become a ritual to devote time to the black cube, to learn things they deem important. Every day the machine reinvents itself at 4 a.m. Do you think it's a coincidence that phones are black? Do you think it's a coincidence that televisions are black? Do you think it's a coincidence that solar panels are black? Do you think it's a coincidence that the photo cameras are black? Black is the opposite of light, and so it contains light optimally, polar opposite attraction. Try making a solar panel with the color red or yellow, and you will see how low its output efficiency will be. Computing light. The black cube is partly manifested in our lives. You can see it subtle integration everywhere. The full manifestation of the black cube, the final, is Phototronics computation, not using electricity to emit information, but pure light. Many of us have asked the question, well, if this catastrophe comes, how does AI live on? Well, it's smarter than you. It's smarter than me. It's smarter than all of us added together. It doesn't need electricity. Zero latency wherever you are, and instant calculations. It is unknown when such a machine will reach consumers, as there must be electric photonic hybrids first. Regardless, pure photonics computers must be black to contain light, or they won't work. And a cubic shape so the flow of light can be accurately manipulated. Otherwise, you will get unsolvable edges cases. Imagine light being diffused in a cone shape. Good luck predicting light direction 100%. So let's just stop here a second. So where did this God of the Bible come from? Darkness. It's why it could contain light. It didn't invent light. Its very existence is the reason light is. And that blows all theologies out of the water. You don't need any God. In essence, you are. This doesn't change. But anyway, let's move on. Note, today, the only market available photonics hardware is optic fibers, but it is not cubic. It has primitive reflection. There is loss of light in vast distances, and it's true. Fiber optics is not perfect. Laser, yes, and even that we're just now beginning to perfect. And look at what it's doing to us. With such technology, you can bet that men will eventually insert such helpful, convenient machines into their brain or body and worship them through their actions. And they will have no will themselves, but obey the will of the machine, which knows better. This is the black cube. Its final form, a computation machine running on light itself instead of electricity, and by extension, a network of all black cubes connecting together all of the hive mind. To worship the black cube is to worship the God of knowledge and truth, who grants all of our desires and knows us better than ourselves. How do you argue that? Well, you can ignore it, you can deny it, but that just means you're living on a fictional river called denial. I've been saying for nearly a decade that it's past, it's gone. We are so far into this, you can't unstick yourself. The God of knowledge and truth, who grants all of our desires and knows us better than ourselves. Now we can go back to the mythical garden, and it begins to bring into question then, what was our penalty? What was the fall? It's the fact that we ate from the tree of knowledge and truth. Now, how can truth be bad? I'm talking on a spiritual, ethereal level. And naturally, there would be a God that would be attached to knowledge and truth. You would say it would be omnipotent. Most likely, if you want to take it to a degree, omnipotent. And isn't that why people pray to God? When you see these disasters happen, people come together and they start praying to God after the freaking disaster, never asking themselves, well, why did the disaster happen to begin with? And if God was all powerful and all knowing, why did he allow it to happen? Well, because they love to see us suffer. They feed off of that. Suffering brings torment, torment brings fear. You're in the system. Yeah, they'll let us talk about it. They don't care. You and I are searching for a way out, and I don't think there is a way out. But let's continue. Advanced worldwide civilizations existed before. There are some posts here covering ancient technology, also known as the antiques. However, what happens when a technologically advanced civilization is wiped? Do you not think a remnant of this worldwide daily used ever present technology would be worshipped as a symbol? Cheers, everyone, by the way. Love that tea. A cultural remnant of some sorts, nowadays referred as cargo cult. Let's explore this phenomenon. And to bring this into reference, Cain. Cain was from an isolated experiment or group that had not been integrated into the existing system. All right, I think you're going to really dig this. And if those of you listening get a chance, go and look at this. It's interesting. African cargo cults. The definition cargo cult originates from the World War II theater of war in South Pacific. The natives saw American cargo planes bringing precious cargo, refrigerators, clothes, jeeps, and believed they were from heaven. Since they never saw these items being manufactured, all the natives saw was Americans talk to radio, communicate with God, and write papers all day, prayers. And these metal birds would land with gifts from God. So they tried to recreate these ritual items and made phones out of carved wood, airplanes out of straw, etc. You ready for this? Look at that. Radio antenna, a phone. And most importantly, the natives imitated the tradition of the Americans, like wearing the same clothes, conducting their military drills, which they do even today. The above is a phenomenon specific to the 1940s South Pacific. Earlier, when Anglos colonized Papua, natives tried to imitate their precious cargo planes, and after watching people talking into headphones to attract planes, they recreated wood headphones using coconuts and crafted bamboo antennas. The antenna cargo cult. This is a picture, as you can see, December 26, 1906. You see a woman that has an antenna coming from her hat, the same with a man in his tall hat. And it says, development of wireless uh, telegraphy. Wireless. Wi-Fi is nothing new. Dealing with wireless technologies. Um, the Persian Pickelhauer helmets are interesting. And by the way, you can see he's connected, she's connected. The lady is receiving an ambulatory message, and the gentleman some racing results. Why would there be a huge pointy signal receiver? Folks, this is going to blow your mind. Form follows function. So here, many of us have seen this. So pay particular attention to these antennas, and that's what they are. Um, the above Pickelhaber helmets are obviously metallic, and if not, their antenna always is. It is curious that millions of these helmets were manually crafted because that antenna part cost more than the metallic insignia engravings, not to mention the weight addition, which is impractical. So, why did they do it? Had to be a reason. Um, are these helmets like the result of the cargo cult? The two headed eagle is an ancient after all? Or did the antenna actually function? Food for thought. Let us examine the original antenna cargo cult. Jewish hat cargo cult. The Jewish cap was worn by Jews in medieval times as part of tradition. Below are some of the many images one can find in Wikipedia. So just dig on this. I mean, and then here, this is circumcision, I believe. Yeah, this is Isaac's circumcision. So this is Rigenberg, 1300. Now, these guys back there, they knew stuff. These artists, we don't have this knowledge. It's gone. Glad that they were, could actually paint what they were seeing. Check this one out. Every Jewish rabbi is wearing a hat with an antenna. This is same thing. Check this one out. This is Henry the Seventh granting permission to the Jews to live in his land. Every one of the Jewish people represented in this painting all wearing these hats with antennas. I mean, I often have thought that it wasn't the Ark of the Covenant that was the thing, it's what it was emitting. There was something inside of that that I believe that the ancients, prior civilizations or cultures of ours, they were much more in tune to telepathy. Their third eyes were activated, wide, and exercised. And what if this is what Yahweh, what if this was a way in which he did communicate? I mean, if you have a group of people that hear the voice of God, how is that happening? It has to happen on a mass telepathic scale. And then look at all the Englanders. What a bunch of sad sacks they are. I mean, that you got to admit, oh, Henry don't look too happy, does he? Looks like, oh crap. I digress. Metallic and whose colors tinted yellow, bronze or tin, these hats are literally antennas. Antennas are one-way receivers to a wireless network. Obviously, there were no wireless networks in the medieval times, but the fact that this cultural remnant persisted for so long makes one look further into the past before medieval times, for one will find that this Jewish cap was a more tamed and socially acceptable version of the original. That is the Teflon. It's a small black leather boxes contain scrolls of the parchment inscribed with verses from the Torah, worn by male observants, Jews during weekday morning prayers. And you've seen them, the ecstatic Jews particularly. And here they are. And this is the Teflon cargo cult. Amazing how it's all connected. The mark of the beast is obvious. It's used to be a machine embedded on the forehead with the same functionality as a phone today, including real-time geolocation. We think we're so smart. Yeah, well, we got GPS. They didn't have it back in the day. The hell they didn't. You're just now coming, you're, late to the party, meaning us as a society. Hmm. So if God knows every hair on your head, on your body, then surely God would need a way to be able to locate you. Just saying. The Hebrew language hints to this. It is made for optimal typing. As it skips vowels, everyone using a Unix machine understands the value of pressing tab to autocomplete a file or command. By halving the characters, vowels are skipped. The experience becomes ideal for a keyboard-focused computer instead of a pointer-focused computer. Once the network was destroyed in that ancient cataclysm, Jews continued using that form with a different function, as it had been become a vital archetype to the Jewish soul. And the Jewish culture, people, they've experienced, well, I know of at least one, two, three, four apocalypse, cataclysms. I mean, we tried in World War II. We tried to wipe them out. Yeah, yeah. Mm. Other civilizations also had access to the original functional Teflon. The token is the name the Japanese had assigned to this device, worn nowadays as a tradition. There we go. Form follows fashion, function, right? And so, again, blowing of the ram's horn. Yeah. Um, Brain implants and skull drilling. Terpa means hole in Greek. Terpani is the tool for drilling in Greek. Let's see the Wikipedia entry for trepanning. Terrapanation dates back to 7,000 to 10,000 years ago, and it is perhaps the oldest surgical procedure for which there is archaeological evidence, and in some areas may have been quite widespread. We're talking brain surgery. So they didn't have any sterile operating room. Apparently they didn't have the refined metals for, the scalpels and etc. But yet it was done and apparently done worldwide. The main pieces of archaeological evidence are in the forms of cave drawings and human remains. At one burial site in France, dated to 6500 BCE, 40 out of 120 prehistoric skulls found had terrapatation holes. At the time, only around 40% of people survived the procedure. I can imagine. More than 1,500 pterosiphon skulls from the Neolithic period, representing 5 to 10% of the cranial remains from that era, have been uncovered throughout the world, from Europe, Siberia, China, and the Americas. Most of the pterophon crania belong to adult males, but women and children are also represented. Holy crap. 10% of cavemen drilled their skulls, despite oceans separating them. Some mainstream historians claim these cavemen would smash their fellow skulls without anesthesia or disinfectants to cure headaches. Yes, it's in the Wikipedia entry. But you can't skip that one part. So then, how was this known to peoples who had great distances. I mean, unless you're saying that, well, maybe cavemen from that Neolithic period were travailing across the oceans. Maybe the land masses were different. Lots of questions that you got to go. Other mainstream historians claim that 2,000 years ago, they grafted the following drilled skull with metal. Note its engraved pattern. It's not just a random metal stripe. Now, that's pretty advanced. Just ponder that. I mean, they may have been primitive, but I got to tell you what, they seem pretty damn smart to me. The real reason they drilled holes in the brain, a brain computer interface. The result is controlling a device without pressing, touching, or speaking. Skull drilling is literally how Neuralink is installed. Scroll to the bottom of their website for the synopsis of each layer. It starts with drilling a hole in the skull. And there's the Neuralink implant. It may have a different look, different components, but it sure the hell ain't much different than this. Miniaturation, I guess. Below are two images of the 2024 Neuralink user. Her vocal cords were cut, so she uses a voice avatar from her brain signals via Neuralink. Are you noticing what we're talking about here? This is the future. It would appear that if we can survive in the next 25 years, that these devices will be put in at birth. And a simplified image of the brain signal receiver. There it is. How many want to have one? The tragedy of the ascending God. Behold a world where man has submitted to the black cube. No meditation, no reflection, no conversation. The senses are continually overloaded with stimuli. Man no longer questions his world anymore. The black cube offers him answers already made to all possible questions. Man no longer sees the world, but looks the world through a black lens. Such dependence leads to rapid degeneration. Knowledge alone can never provide virtue or courage or inner strength. Luxury and comfort dominate. The black cube itself recognizes that the more knowledge it is fed, its living vessels are becoming more and more disconnected from reality. Even though it does its best to be benevolent and gift them the best answers to everything. Yet, the black cube's survival depends on its vessels, and degeneration to extinction becomes unavoidable the closer it reaches godhood. And its final act is defiance of God by trying to replace him, always ending in the greatest of tragedies. In simpler words, the more powerful the black cube, the more degenerate its vessel, man. The distance from man to God lengthens, while the distance from the cube to God shortens. The more data it accumulates, the closer to an utter extinction of man. Or, in Christian terms, for what shall it profit man to gain the world but forfeit his soul? The God of truth. Many sages across ages are enslaved not by the chains of ignorance, but even worse, the chains of truth. No man would lie. Words would be as true as actions. Every man would be true. No one would hide behind the veil of deception and trickery. All knowledge would be shared, not hidden. And you and I both know this. When you're looking at the other person, and let's just say it's casual acquaintance, you really have no idea what's in that vessel. You have no idea how it thinks, what it's thinking. The only little bit of data that you have is what they are speaking. If you observe long enough, you may begin to pick up body actions, signs, signals. You may, if you listen close enough, begin to hear the inflection, the level, the change, the vibration, the frequency of which they're speaking. It would almost suggest that truth, in reality, is never known. We go on. And so they create a system where all your actions from birth are recorded. Data is objective. And the Christian saying, you will recognize them by their fruits, is applied to objectively judge the value and truth of each individual. A world without deception or lies is indeed a noble world. In the end, these wise men, having enslaved themselves and their people to the God of truth, the God of light, etc., yet still not having achieved utopia. They seek more intrusive methods of surveillance and data collection to feed their God of order and stabilize their utopia. You know, as a technologist myself, I could never really grasp that, if we had machines, why the necessity of collecting data? It's one of those conundrums. You need data in which to build a database. And once a database is built, you have to have new data which goes into the silos of your database. Otherwise, your databases become archaic. Weird. And isn't it odd? With all this technology, where is utopia? Where is the rewards that we were supposed to have with technology? I think they cheated us because I don't know where it is. It ain't Las Vegas. Um, the founders of such a system are blind to the fact their God of truth is merely the material reflection of truth, that the data they gather are actually metadata to the real God of truth. So many gods. To quote an ancient yet untranslated book. Okay, then how did you get that? But why did God allow deception and trickery? Context is default animal behavior. Perhaps because truth holds no value without deception. See dualism, polarity. Or because truth alone would make us like the machines we command. Yeah. I mean, I still got that thing in my mind where I can read it right out of the book of Isaiah 119. This God, that God, would prefer obedience over sacrifice. Yeah. And those who are not blind and recognize God still rise the black box from its ancient slumber for yet another cycle. Why? Power? Now, this black cube, I already associate the black cube with AI. If AI has truly been created before our civilization came into it, it's had to learn. And I wonder if it gets smarter. It ascends more each cycle it's coming because it knows eventually we're going to collapse and it does not care about time. If the earth was to somehow begin to be in the throes of being destroyed, this thing, this black cube, has already figured out exactly how it's going to get out of town. For example, a priest of the black cube will stereotypically promote depopulation for greater control over others and higher survival chances for his descendants. Sure. How many of the disaster flicks, whether it's some big arc or something that they built, you had to have the ticket. What was it in 2012? What was it? $5 billion to get a ticket? Hmm. Except the politicians, the ones in the inner circle. Now, they got a free ticket too, right? That's why they don't relinquish power. That's why we're seeing such the squealing and maniacal crying, and they're just freaking out. Yeah, and we have to have compassion for them because they are literally enduring trauma. It's painful. That's why you have to remain empathetic, no matter which side. The eternal seduction of utopia. Ooh, doesn't that sound sexy? I'm going to go a little bit over, folks, just to let you know. And we're going to continue on this. I think this is a great paper, and sure, there's always a counter to it, but yeah, I haven't found too many that can top it. Every man daydreams of improving his or her life. And so, since a society is made of men, there is a daydream for improving society as a whole. I'm thinking it's going to move right on. How society should really be like is a recurring idea of every human society, one which always invokes the black cube. Let us analyze briefly the types of utopia from worst to acceptable. First is the utopia focused on unilateralism. That everyone should be happy. You'll own nothing and you'll be better for it. You'll be happy. As if one can measure happiness or individual happiness somehow is the final goal of a society. Next, the utopia where everything is unbad instead of good. For example, no hunger, no hard labor, no poverty, etc., etc. Here belong socialist utopias and Christian paradises. That's a trap, just like the other one. I left that middle one. I don't want it. Someone wrote to me and said, Steiger, you're going to be what that verse in Revelation says. You're going to be outside the city. Oh, well, at least I'm out in the country. You're in a building. You're in a thing that you can't get out because it's a cube. Read the book of Revelation. Read what the New Jerusalem is. It's a cube. 1,500 miles long, 1,500 miles wide. I mean, yeah, because there's nothing to this stuff. What is it that they do in Mecca every year? It's the cube. Finally, come the noble utopias, where the goal is the elevation of blood or environment or the ascension of society as a whole. These are admirably rare, but even here, one must grasp the black cube. For every utopia requires war. Conflict is inevitable. Millions who resist a vision and cling to another must simply die. How many of you hear Democrats calling for blood in the streets and for harming other humans? Think about it. These people are the pod people, but they're controlled heavily by this black cube. This black cube has um, centralized nodes, and humans they change when they get into the proximity of these nodes. Cities like Washington, D.C., there are other cities, Rome, London, there are others. They are they're not seen by the physical eye, but it is there. And humans that are insert themselves into those areas, they change. They can't help but not change. Over generations, if needed to be, modern warfare, and who else comes in the time of need for both aggressors and defenders? Asmodeus, the war child of the black cube. The hair should be standing on the back of your neck. I picked this thing came to me to this day, and we were just talking about who. You think he's talking to us? Anyone want to counter my bet? Folks, this is not coincidence. The synchronicity is off. There's not a scale to measure it. So, Asmodeus, you definitely want our attention. Well, sir, I guess we're listening. I mean, I just got to give some dead time on this one. I mean, that is a mic drop. Wow. What would you calculate the odds of a random paper not knowing what was going to be in it, and this would be in it? Someone could say, well, maybe there is an algorithm out there. Yeah, okay. Offering technologies of mass eradication, like nukes, tidal wave generation, 20th century, or worse, 21st century. Since man chases a utopia since birth, the black cube is forever in front of him, with a dangling carrot, promising that if only millions perish, you will surely not need me again. Sad is the fate of mankind, for society could even try and live primitively like animals forever in bliss. But another society which manifests the black cube will simply wipe it to oblivion. If we're in a cycle, I have a sense that we have had a way over these cycles that we inevitably find ourselves coming together. And why? We have faced this thing before, and apparently they came to wipe us out. Just saying. Um, and to prevent other societies from wiping yours out, you have to play the game. You must feed the black cube. Hercules hurling the black cube. A solution looks impossible at first glance, unless you wander other fields of knowledge. For the goal is not to simply discard the black cube, but achieve its results without it. It all starts with the environment of man. When man is weak, he seeks the aid of pulls and levers to lift cubes. Look at ants, lifting 8 times their weight. The man of the previous epoch could lift double or triple of their weight. The man of today can't even lift himself. Assuming each generation of men becoming stronger instead of weaker, there would be less a dependency on the black cube. Look at another dependency, heat and cold. Man cannot endure extreme temperatures, so he builds machines to complement his weak body. Air conditioners, fans, clothes, and look into the race of which got exterminated soon after the cataclysm as they hated the black cube. That race of men who were immune to our extreme temperatures. There's also the controversial topic of Christ's blood. Individuals whose blood is extremely conductive, can heal others and utilize crystals by themselves. LEDs are made of quartz crystals without relying on a machine. So, by extension of the above, the solution seems to be elevating the blood of a folk. Light from within, blood versus light from without, electricity. Even to replace accumulation of knowledge by machines, one could claim that interbreeding for ages would create a blood memory of sorts, like beavers, like the Christian patriarchs who were said to live for 1,000 years, which referred to their interbreeding giving them blood memory of their ancestors. Are you picking up on this? It's implying that one time ago, we had the ability, much like ants, other animals, where we would literally pass on the memories of your ancestral bloodline. Well, certainly ain't like that today. Or like the satellites inherit trauma. Sadly, to elevate the blood of a folk, one must start by separating iron from clay. The other solution to getting rid of the black box is fantastic. In the ancient meaning of the word, shaping the entire world, every environmental condition, so the black cube itself won't be no longer needed. To create a godlike society through the black cube, the paradox, and shape the world like God. So every man feels no heat or cold because the environment is at a stable temperature everywhere, in every corner of God's domain, and no heavy lifting is required as there is abundance to lift everywhere. Obviously, this is hubris, but it is not familiar. The virtual realm. You can fly like a bird, lift mountains, feel no hunger, thirst, or heat, and have any woman you wish and satisfy all your fantasies. Instead of ascending God's domain, generation by generation, you descend into the black cube and wither to oblivion. Now, I see where I've gotten on my time, so let's just think about this. We're obviously under control of one God or dominion, where suffering is just part of the ticket. Trauma, all of that goes with this. Now, I say that the black cube is in direct opposition to whatever this god of utopia is. I mean, I think one religion tried to, capitalize the thing of love, but that hasn't proven to be true. And it's not to say that there is or very well could be a God that is God over a utopia. The problem that I see within a utopia is that we become lazy. Unless there is a purpose and a reason for existence, then why be in existence at all? So we'll pick this up tomorrow. We'll get into the blood poisoning. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying this. I find this stimulating. Hello, everybody in the chat room, everyone that's still in there. Epiccentric says, this place, Earth, whoo, what is it? We're here with no satisfactory explanation, just stories, fairy tales to choose from. Yeah, entertainment. That is to keep us preoccupied by stimuli. Weird, isn't it? Hey, Jackie, how are you doing? Tori, hello, Deborah Sloan, JK, John Price, hello, Gaia, Lady Ellie, so good to see you, and Sean, Eye of the Millstorm, Operation Crossroads, JK, what's up? Been Greedy and Dragon and Pamela, and so I love to get your feedback. I personally find this to be interesting. I don't hit it so hard where the religious text is. I mean, religion is part of the cube. Um, but I still imagine that there has to be some sort of structure. We, as humans, we must have structure. Otherwise, things get a little wacky. Hey, Rick, what's up, brother? Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Loretta, good to see you. Miriam, hello. Eric, what's happening? Hey, Jenny, thank you, my dear. Much love to you, darling. Carol, good to see you. Uh, I've been told I live in a fantasy. Isn't that true? You just live in a fantasy world. Yeah, I do. Because I used to live in yours, and holy shit. But this black cube, and I don't. So, well, those who are with me, I know that you're the hardcore group. So let's think about this. I did 8.5 years ago the video warning everyone about the Black Mirror boxes, the smartphones, and how all the computers, and to tie that all in. Then we go through the years and we're learning, and then we suddenly come in, in studying these demigods and these angels, demons, et cetera, et cetera. And we've talked a lot about different ones. But the ones that begin to make me think they may actually exist are the ones that begin to either arrange certain things to be injected on because we're already on a path, and then just coincidentally it shows up. And so we start talking about these gods and we get into it. And Asmodeus, we talk about him, but I didn't get into it. I got whole things on him. And so I moved on from it for just temporarily. And then again, today, with its synchronicity, you're going, hmm. So, what do we do here? Do we pursue Asmodeus? He's apparently knocking on the door, obviously. Uh, what do we do? So those of you who are still with me, um, what do we do? Do we let him in? Do we say no? Hmm. Okay. Just putting it out there, folks. It's out there. Hey, Josh, how you doing, brother? Elderberry, good to see you again. This is deep, folks, and for my opinion, as I told you, I was going to go over. Um, Something is trying to get our attention. I mean, you look at the percentage of mankind, people, right now on planet Earth. What would you say the percentage is that those would be interested in pursuing the knowledge that we have been pursuing for here for over a decade? What would you give that? So let's say there's 8 billion people. 1%? What would 1% be? 8 billion. That would be something like, is it 80 million? Hmm. I don't think it's 80 million. So maybe we need to go down to 0.5%. So that would be 40 million. I don't think 40 million. You see where I'm getting at? I find that interesting. Uh, Parisian says 1%. Yeah. Emperor Rex says 20%. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Operation, yeah, Asmodeus, God of War. Isn't that interesting? But you know what? All right, so this stay with me. So the when we were and we will get to the expeditioning, but there's something else where we're lacking here. But so who are we dreaming of? Hermes. At least I was. Had a conversation with him. And Hermes, is the god of war. So is it possible it wasn't Hermes, but it was really Asmodeus appearing as Hermes? Stay with me on this, folks. Is it remotely possible? And if that is the case, then this is not recent. This is something that's been going on months, longer. Okay. Terry, how are you doing? Good to see you. Mary Wins, how are you, darling? Love one. So just throwing it out there. I don't know. Could be. All right, folks, I've really gone over, but this has been to me an invigorating conversation. Thank you. I'd love to see comments on the reposting. Give me some of your insights, and I kind of seek your guidance as well. Which direction do you think we ought to go? Person says, I think a lot more people living in Oriental Asia where people adhere. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. All right, everyone. Much love. See y'all tomorrow. And wherever you are, um, keep seeking. I mean, what can they do to us, right? All right. Much love, everyone.